Harry, a common question that we get is, what is sanctification? Can you please explain to us what that is?
Well, in the Christian faith, Jesus talks about it, and it's working towards holiness is how we kind of get to understand it. Like when we come to Christ and start our faith journey, we're often not that close to being really in a real holy place because we have no concept of what Christianity really is. There is kind of a burst of enthusiasm and so
Mhm.
on, but we're a little sketchy on
Rough around the edges is the best way to
yeah,
put it,
yeah,
maybe.
yeah. And but over time, if a person's been a Christian for a year, hopefully they've kind of got some of the nuances and all that stuff figured out. And after been 5 years walking with God, you kind of get a feeling of all the details as to what God expects from us and so on. And then as we're 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, we're hopefully just like a tree grows like a fruit tree. Really the right analogy would have to be a fruit tree because we're expected to grow fruit. Now, if you plant an apple tree in your yard, the first year, how many apples do you get on the first year?
You don't get any.
Exactly, exactly. But and the third year, what do you get?
I'm not an expert on this topic, but if I remember correctly, it's about year five when apples are start coming through. Am I correct, or
Yeah,
is
I
it
think the
three?
third year you might be lucky and get one or two.
Okay, okay. So
And
you
I don't,
just barely start getting some fruit.
I'm not a fruit farmer either, but the picture is that at 5 years, you like to get an 11-quart basket of apples and stuff like that. And 2 more years, you get a bushel, and another few more years, you get 2 bushel. So the analogy is that our life, but even it's only a year old, all it does is grow leaves. And they
But
say,
it's
well,
still growing. That's the whole
yeah,
point
yeah,
of it
yeah,
all.
yeah, exactly. But the sanctification is the best described as the as the growth and the productiveness of the apple tree as a tree. Well, the tree grows and it produces yeah, like it first it's just leaves and eventually it cuts out a few apples. But if all it ever grew for the next 10 years and it was an apple tree, you bought an apple tree and all you got was
Was
leaves.
leaves. You'd cut that thing down right away, throw it into the fire.
No, but really, you say, well, what's wrong with my tree, right? That's what you would say. You bring somebody out and say, look at my apple tree. What have I done wrong? And he says, well, when you planted it way too deep or something like that. You
Uh-huh.
planted it wrong. You planted it a foot too deep or something. Poor management. But when we're a Christian, God plants us at the right depth, right? You know, like
Mhm.
if we get it right. But I think some people they get off, they don't get their walk right. They've planted at the wrong depth and things don't work so well. But I'm not trying to hear it for that topic. But the point is, if we plant a tree right, and Jesus does that, and we allow him to prune us and to shape us and to fertilize the tree and so on, over time it gets to be more and more productive. I have a question for you. Year 20 versus year 10, what do you think?
I think year 20 should be a really productive tree that you're
Yeah,
fully bearing fruit now, being able to walk in or
right.
live in this fruit.
Yeah, yeah. And as year 30, it's every bit as good and so on.
Mhm.
So, and their lifespan is not, maybe similar to our own, like, so it grows and produces fruit and there's a joy both ways, the tree. So the question is also, how much effort does it take for a tree to grow a good crop?
It, well, the effort that has to be put into it is, I would say that the sun or the sun literally, and the water would be the word of God. We just got to continuously rehydrate ourselves daily.
Yeah, and the thing is, the conditions have to be right, our pruning and all those things. And if we're a true Christian, then we continue to grow and to produce fruit. And that is what sanctification is in our life. It's a cooperation with the farmer or with the caregiver, and so that the tree will continue to grow and to nourish and to move forward. But when Jesus cursed the fig tree, and the tree was dead the next day. That was just before the
Mhm.
crucifixion. Why did he curse the tree?
Can't remember.
No fruit, no
No
fruit.
fruit.
And a fig tree
Wow.
always, and a fig tree has always either flowers or small figs or ripe figs, and usually a cycle that apparently the flowers start before the last figs. So you can always tell. An apple tree, if you come in the wintertime, you can't tell if it's a productive tree or not. Maybe a good farmer could, but there's no fruit on it. But a fig tree is always in some
Mhm.
stage of production. So Jesus knew that tree was useless. And he has no interest in growing leaves. If a fig tree is supposed to grow figs, an apple tree has to grow apples. It has a purpose. And if it's not doing what it was meant to do, nothing, yeah, like it's not it
It's
has
almost like it gets cut off from the branch, as what the vine dresser, as what we read
yeah,
in
for sure.
John.
And Jesus does that analogy a lot of different ways in the Bible, but it's
Mhm.
a matter of growing, uh, growing in size and growing in form, but also productive.
So to me, it's pretty much like you shouldn't beat yourself up if you've been a Christian for a month, 2 months, 3 months, but 30 years and you're still producing the same fruit or lack of fruit as you did when you were a Christian for a couple of years. That's when we got to get back to the root, the basics again.
Yeah, exactly. Because if it's an 11-quart basket after 20 years, uh,
Mhm.
that doesn't make that doesn't, Jesus
That's
doesn't.
not the sanctification process that's supposed to be happening.
No, no, no. That's for sure.
Awesome. Thanks, Harry.
Yeah, good.